So I thought before I get on to the conversation with Jugal, I thought I'd thank BLF for having both of us here. It's really nice and it's an honor to be a part of this festival. Uh, Also, it's great to get out and, be amongst people. So anyways, so my first and my earliest memories, right, Jugal, is of watching you in Masoom. Like everyone would have said that to you. And Masoom. And I love the songs in that movie and I remember it. I've also grown up watching you in a lot of other movies, Uh, and it was interesting because I've seen you work in movies and then you've also written other books and you've also directed films like an animation film as well. So what was beautiful was that I felt that storytelling was at the crux of all of it somewhere. Storytelling has played like a big role in this. So my first question was that when did you start writing, and like, are you an avid reader? Was it something that happened when you started reading film scripts?
Okay, so firstly, actually, before I answer your question, firstly, let me say, Ruchi, I'm very glad to meet you finally, because we have never met, even though this is not a physical meeting, but it's great to just virtually see you, because I think you have done a wonderful job with the illustrations, and I've told you that before, and I'm not the only one. I think everyone's saying that too. So thank you for enhancing the book. And secondly, I would like to thank BLF for inviting me here. This is my first time at a literature festival, so I feel quite important. Uh, and thank you for that. And thank you for the kind introduction. So having said that, to answer your question, yes, I have been reading books since as long as I can remember. I think since I could read. So since a very young age, starting with even starting with comics, like, which I still love, like Tintin, which kind of gave me a fascination of this whole the whole world around us. Because the character traveled all over the world in every adventure, and kind of whetted my appetite for adventure stories. Asterix comics was another big famous, something I used to enjoy very much. But I clearly remember reading Hardy Boys, the Hardy Boys series, Enid Blyton books, and then as I grew a little older, I got hooked onto, which I still am, PG Woodhouse. I've read all the books he's written, and I still go back every now and then. Every fourth or fifth book I finish, I go back to one of Woodhouse, because that's my happy place. So I can say that I've been reading since many, many years. And fantasy fiction as well, actually. That's also a genre I really love. Um, and to start writing, I actually, you won't believe that I actually started writing when I was in school. I used to write, make up these stories, and illustrate. I have one illustration per chapter, and because my handwriting was so bad, I would read out my notes, and my mom would actually write it down on. And I had two or three books written. One, I very adventurously wrote a sequel to R.K. Robert Louis Stevenson's Kidnapped. I remember.
Oh.
So I just decided to continue the story. So, and I wrote a couple of other books. I mean, very childish, but my love for storytelling was there from a very young age.
Lovely. And, I also wanted to know a little bit about your life in Mumbai, where you grew up. What have you seen? Has any of that had a role to play, or has that added to anything that you write about?
Definitely, I think we all are a product of our influences, and the people, the places around us make us who we are. So I think definitely, I mean, in fact, my first film, which I directed, Roadside Romeo, which, as you mentioned, was an animation film. The idea for that story, which that was a script that I wrote. I wrote the story, screenplay, and dialogue myself for that film as well. That idea for that script, because we were trying to crack an idea for an animation film with animal characters, but we wanted to make a Bollywood spoof, like have poke fun at our own industry and have villains and songs and all that. So I wasn't being able to come up with an idea. One day at a traffic signal, I was stuck for a long time. I saw this big pile of garbage and these stray dogs jumping around very gleefully and very happily playing there, as if that's they're in the happiest place in the world. And I thought those are my characters. So I picked up that idea from the Mumbai streets and wrote Roadside Romeo about stray dogs.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, that's really Mumbai. So, and when you started writing Coward and the Sword, I was just wondering that, see, was it like, did you just start writing it as an experiment and then it turned like into a book? Or, were you super sure that this is going to turn up into a book from the beginning? Did you get like the entire script or the idea of the story, together, like in one flow?
No, not at all. It actually started off just as an experiment. My son was just born. This is early 2018. My first book had just come out in 2017, December. And then in January, my son arrived, and I had taken, I was not, I was quite free at that time because I wanted to be with my wife and son. And I had some other work going on where I was reading scripts for a studio,
Right.
which was going on. But there were times in the day when I was not doing that work, and my son would be napping because when they are newborn, they nap a lot. So
Yes.
I started putting these notes down of another story just to see
Oh,
if it has anything in it. There was this idea in my head. I love this genre of fantasy fiction,
right.
and very funnily, like sometimes I don't get sleep, so I imagine stories to put myself to sleep. So I started imagining this world, this kingdom. I didn't have any characters or nothing. I said, okay, it will be on a hill like those Indian hill stations I've seen growing up, on these terraced levels. There'll be a little square where things, and I kind of made the whole kingdom in my head. And then I started before I go to sleep, and then I started penning down notes. And then when
Wow.
I saw it on paper, I said, "This is a nice place. Let me, see what I can." So I started adding characters in, and slowly, story started to form, and it started going into my notes. And then I thought there's something there, and just for fun, because I was free and it was winter. I was here in the US. It was a very harsh winter. There was nowhere to go. So anytime I had free time, I would just, escape into this idyllic kingdom and started writing notes. I had no idea how the story would progress. I didn't, like other writers, I didn't have a beginning, middle, and end. I just
Right.
went along
Yeah.
for this time. For this one, I had no idea where it was heading.
Lovely. So then, this is like a fantasy fiction for young adults. And I was just wondering that in this genre, usually there's a lot of, I mean, there's a little bit of violence and blood and stuff. Okay. Like when you look at, say, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, I've also watched a lot of episodes of Game of Thrones, which a lot of people would find difficult to watch as well. And I was just wondering that when I read the script, no, as I was turning the pages, I don't know, every 2 or 3 pages, I was expecting that, okay, there's probably going to be a battle here, or the spy is probably going to get caught and killed. And I guess it's just because of the type of literature and the type of things that we're constantly watching. So I was just wondering, how did you, there's not, there's like no non-violence. I mean, there's no violence in the book. So I was just wondering that that was like a conscious decision. I can see that, but like how and why did that happen?
No, definitely, it was a conscious decision. As I said earlier, I do enjoy this genre very much of fantasy fiction, and I have noticed that there's a fair amount of blood and gore in
Yeah,
every book and every movie and series that one watches. But
yeah,
since the theme of this book was about innocence, about finding bravery, finding your inner courage, and also it was about it's anti-war, right? The whole book is anti-war. So
right,
in a book about peace, I didn't want to add. I wanted to stop the violence before it started. So that was the whole point, and I'm been very influenced by the writings of Daisaku Ikeda, and he talks a lot about world peace and global peace, and that is definitely in my subconscious. So that permeated from my study of his writings as well. So the whole point was to stop this madness before it begins.
right.
So that was the idea behind it.
Lovely. So I'm just curious to know a little bit more about this branch of Buddhism that you're currently studying. How and when did that happen?
Yeah. So as I said, I mean, I love reading anyway. So a friend of mine suggested to why don't you find out more about this practice of Nichiren Buddhism. It's a beautiful philosophy. So I started studying and reading it. and of course practicing it. And it really resonated with me, about finding this whole book. The idea of the book has come about from there, actually, about we don't need to seek
Yeah.
solutions outside us with an outside thing. It's all within us. So that's why that quote, I put it at the start of the
Yes.
book, because that quote actually triggered the whole story,
Idea. Yeah. For the book.
the
Yes.
idea of this book. So I had to give credit where it's due. So the quote is, "A sword is useless in the hands of a coward," by
Yes.
Nichiren Daishonin, who was a 13th century Japanese Buddhist reformer. And
Yeah.
that kind of teaches us that it's not the sword that makes you brave. I mean, you can give the best weapon to someone who doesn't have the courage to use it, and it's not going to get used. So it's actually the person himself who develops that courage, who grows that within him. And also how you use that object for good or for evil is up to you, right? When you
Yes.
gather the courage to use some power, but how you use that power again. So again, it's about responsible action, taking your adding value to not only your life, to other people's lives. So all that came from my studies of that philosophy.
Lovely. Yeah. And in the story, I think this is something I realized a little later once I was into the script. I realized that Cadis was named, after, like, it's a reverse of like the name of your son, right? And that was
Right,
a
right,
very
right.
sweet touch. And I was just wondering, that is any other part of the story a little autobiographical? Like, Prince Cadis is a little he's a little frightened or afraid of darkness, or so I was just wondering if there was any part like that, that was a bit
I mean,
autobiographical.
yeah, so it was obviously it's dramatized and enhanced and all that, but I've as a
Right.
teenager faced my own shares of anxieties, and I think we all have some issues. We either show them or we don't. So I
Right.
used to. I remember I used to, like, when I was younger, I was claustrophobic and be afraid of the dark. I would even be nervous getting into this little elevators, where
Oh.
there's where there are closed spaces and stuff like that. So well, now I live in this. Now we live in a world full of high rises, so I can't avoid that. But
Yes.
these, of course, as I said, there's a lot of dramatic enhancements I've done. It's not.
Right.
But I have faced. I've seen people around me and have certain anxiety issues, and I said, why not address? Why do we brush it under the carpet? Why does
Right.
every
Yeah.
prince have to be brave? Why does every hero have to be heroic? You know.
Yes. Yes.
So I wanted to break, because, as I said, this wasn't commission. There was no pressure. I was having fun, and
Right.
I was just seeing where it goes. So I
Right.
started putting in all the things that I used to question. That
Lovely.
why does this genre have to have violence?
Yes.
Of course,
So
it can have thrill, and it can have thrill, and maybe the threat of violence, which is always
right.
exciting as a reader or as a movie goer. That, oh, something's going to happen, and
Yeah.
and then you don't do that. I think that's just something I wanted to see.
Yes. No, it works out pretty well. And you've almost kind of answered my next question, but still, I'm going to ask you nonetheless that, the gender stereotypes in the story have kind of been broken. Like, if you take a look at Princess Tara and Cadis's friend, they're like a lot stronger and a lot more in control of things. But Prince Cadis is somebody who's like nervous and frightened, and he discovers bravery along the way, through the narrative of the book. So, again, was that conscious, or, was it inspired by
I think,
people around you?
yes, definitely. I think more than conscious, it was subconscious. This, like, the two ladies in my life I really
Yes.
look up to. One is my late mother, who I always found very brave. Growing up, and grew up in a very loving household with my dad and mom and my older brother. And my
Right.
mom always faced she always had a smile on her face. And even later on, when she had health issues, she tried not to let it be a burden on us. And I really looked up to that quality in her. And secondly, my wife, Jasmine, who I
Yes.
again admire and look up to. I think she's the bravest lady I know, and she's my strength. So I think a lot of Sarah and that this relationship comes from that.
Inspired from them.
And so
Yes.
these two ladies I look up to in my life, and who I wish I had those qualities, but I'm blessed that they have them and they're around me. They, like, my mom was around me, and my wife is around me. So I'm
Wow.
grateful for that and blessed. So that had to come out in some way. And I
Lovely.
also, why does it always have to be the guy who's the stronger one? I
Yes.
mean, it can be. I mean, women give
Anyone. Yeah.
like a woman gives birth to a man after so much pain, and I don't think a guy can handle all that pain. So I think
Totally.
I really admire that. Yeah,
Yes.
they are definitely the stronger of the lot.
Great. That's very well put. So, when I was reading the script, right, I was thinking that from an illustrator's perspective, the most interesting thing about the script was that I was reading all the names, there was Cadis, there was Molonga, there was Kofu, there's Princess Tara. And what I try to do when I'm looking at a script is I'm trying to find a way to root it somewhere, okay? And in the sense that I was trying to see if there was a particular location, time, era, or place that I could tie it to. And then I began to realize that when I started reading up on all the names, I found it very interesting because they resonated from various parts of the world and various cultures. So while some names were like Japanese, some had like Armenian roots, like Princess Tara could have been Indian or Turkish. So it was how do I put it, it was amazing because I think that's where I also kind of got this whole idea, that I can't be just representing like one location, and the story kind of becomes a little timeless as well. And yeah, I can't even represent just one type of people because that's not what the story is about. It's just everything all at once. So I was just wondering that what was like, how did you get this idea of naming all the characters and the places like this?
I actually, to be honest, I would close my eyes and just instinctively think of a name, or you know. So it came out instinctively, but there was something conscious in my decision about not rooting it in one place, for particularly
Yeah.
that reason. Because the theme is universal, right? This is something that's happening all around us. Countries are at war with each other, families are at war with each other.
Right.
So it's not something that is rooted in one place, right? Anyway, you turn on the news, you read the newspaper, you travel, there's always something going on in every corner of the world.
Right. Yeah,
So I
yeah.
thought by rooting it in one place, then I'm alienating all the other, you know,
Yes.
because this is something that everyone should resonate with. And then I consciously then decided to make it a completely fictional place. And also being a fan of, to be honest, fan of Tolkien and all the worlds he created, Middle
Yes.
Earth and all that
Yes.
stuff. So that is again in my subconscious because that's a very strong influence. And I think anybody ever writing in this genre would be lying if they claim that they don't have Tolkien as some,
Amount of
someone.
inspiration.
Yeah. It's like
Yes.
in the movie business, like you'd be lying if you say that Mr. Amitabh Bachchan is not part of your subconscious somewhere. Like, it's like it has to be. It's just like what we
Yeah.
grew up with, and that influence will be there whether you admit it or
Yes.
not, or whether you even do it consciously or not. So,
Yeah. No, it came by quite strongly because I remember illustrating the map and I had a lot of fun naming all the places on the map, if you remember.
in fact, I
So that
must
was
commend you
very,
that you have, in fact, very imaginatively even named a lot of other things, which I'll be happy to
yes.
use in the sequel as coming up.
Oh, that's great. That's lovely. Yeah. But I actually went all out to, like to the various regions, and if there's like a little lake or a little seaside, I said let's go all out and now do this map and make it like
It was wonderful, and I
yeah.
really appreciated that. In fact, I was very keen on having a map because myself, when I read
Yes.
this books of this genre, I remember even
Yeah.
if I'm like halfway through the book, I go back to the beginning. I keep a bookmark at the beginning also, and one for where I am at the story, because when I'm reading, I like to go back to the map and see, oh,
Right.
okay. And I'm also a
Yes.
geography nut. When I'm bored
Lovely.
and nothing to do, I open Google Maps and just
Oh.
look at
Whoa.
places.
Okay.
Yeah, I go to cities and stuff like that. So I like
Wow.
maps, and
Okay.
I'm glad
I
that
mean, so when I was doing the map, I remember, checking out all those old Middle Earth maps. Okay, at one point, yeah, for this book, and I think maps is also something if you like reading like Agatha Christie and other books. They tend to have a
Yes.
map of the houses and stuff, and I love to refer to those as well. So
In
it was
fact,
a lot of fun for me too. Yeah.
yes, growing up, I used to also enjoy R.K. Narayan's Malgudi days.
Oh yes.
And I don't know, the edition I had was had a map of Malgudi, which was a fictional
Oh
place in South India anyway. I would
yeah.
always, if he says this story is happening on this street, I would go back and see the map of, where this street is in conjunction to the school or the market and stuff like
Wow.
that.
Yeah. Wow. That's lovely. So okay. Like as in, so see, when I was illustrating the book, right? I think I had, when I read the script right from the beginning to the end, I've had a lot of freedom to work on it. And I think at one, and I'd like to speak just for a minute, about the visuals and why I landed up choosing this particular medium. Because like, when I read the book, there's like a very nice narrative, there's a good beginning, a good end, there's a certain amount of closure, so there's a certain amount of control as well, with each character and with the way the story is flowing. But there's also like a lot of stuff that happens which sort of puts them off course, okay, or there are a lot of twists and turns that happen which kind of show that, hey, we're not in control of everything. So I think when I was choosing the mediums to work with, I think in my heart somewhere I knew that I can't just work with one medium. I had to mix it up. Like I decided to work with pencils, which is something that I could control. And then I added the whole watercolor and ink touch because, when I work with colors, right, they just flow on the page. And when they dry, I can't really control how the texture is going to be. So there was a bit of control and a bit of, losing control and chaos that was happening in the visuals. And I remember that you probably saw just one or two samples when I'd worked on it initially. And at the end of it, you probably got the entire book with all 56 visuals. So I just wanted to know, your thoughts on the visuals, and also that, did it sync up with what you had visualized? Because these sort of books, when you read them, right, we all tend to visualize them. And your books, the way you've written, especially like the first chapter, I remember you've spoken about the child on a hill in a castle looking out onto like a shimmering sea with boats. And there was so much, it lends itself to being visualized. So I was just wondering that, did it match up at all with what you visualized, or did it work out?
Firstly, Ruchi, I'm very fascinated when you described your process because, as I said, I didn't really know how, what you're thinking when you're working on your
Yes.
illustrations, and that has been a great insight for me. I'm not an artist, so it's great to see how your mind works. So thanks for that. And secondly, yes, I did only see like two illustrations, and initially I'm not an artist, so I just had some visual in my mind, a little more dramatic and kind of edgy, more kind of graphic, dark and light, and I had the
Right.
just the sword and what like one half face of the prince or something. This was
Okay.
just a rough idea, and then Tina sent me like a couple of illustrations that you sent, and it was completely different from what I had kind of thought of. So I said,
Okay.
let me think in because well, this is HarperCollins. They know a lot more than me about about books and publishing, and I
Right.
always believe let the experts do what they're best at, and this is like their domain. So I took a step back, and then of course I said they've brought in an artist who obviously is a creative person in her own right, and just like in the movies, like I don't really, if I take a good director of photography, I'm not going to really place the camera for him and operate it for him, right? I'm going to trust his creativity. That's why he's there, right? That's his job.
Right.
So
Yes.
and I'm not going to go in front of the camera and act for the actor, right? That's their job. So I'm going to just kind of give the world I want to create, and then they bring their own creativity. So with that in mind, I kind of stepped back and saw it with that angle, and I slept over it for 2 days, and I kept seeing the illustrations on the big screen on my laptop. I was
Oh,
like, this is
lovely.
beautiful. This is going with the flow of my story better than what I had thought of, because my story is
Okay.
not edgy. Okay, it's a
Right.
gentle, and
Yes.
smooth. These are the two
Yes.
words I would like to use. It flows.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw the illustrations. First word, as you said, it was there was a flow to it.
Yes.
So she's thought of it wonderfully. Something obviously, it's when there's another creative mind, you must be open to it. Otherwise, there's no point getting, a good artist.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, then you might as well do it yourself. So
Yeah.
when good artist, then I said, wow, this is a different perspective, but it's a better perspective. And it's
Great.
better than what I thought. And I was set, I said, great. And then what even surprised me more was when the editorial team at HarperCollins, Tina and the team, came back with not
Yes.
only your presentation, but also a sepia tone the
Yes.
pages. Because
Yeah.
when I set out to write the book, my whole idea was to think of it as a fable, or
Yes.
once
Yes.
as if a grandparent is narrating a story to a timeless story to a.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
was my um, thought behind the narrative style, and the visuals and the whole visual of the book with the illustrations and the pages just enhanced it further and made it even better. So a lot of the credit goes to the team and of course you, without saying.
Thank you.
And as per your second part that you mentioned about the first chapter being visual, that again,
Yes.
having directed 2 films. So I'm not a trained writer. I don't have a trained process. I see it as a movie.
Right.
So
You visualize it.
I actually see a fade in. I see the titles getting over. I see a wide shot
Oh,
of the of the glistening of sun rays on and the water, and then pulling out to So I was seeing the whole thing as a movie visual, and I wrote it just like that. So I think that's
lovely.
that's why it got a bit more
Yeah.
visual, but I think it worked out well.
Great. Glad it did. Yes. So, now that the book is out, I know that Sadik is a little too young to read it. Okay. But have your nieces and nephews or any friends, children read the book? And have any of the children or the young adults who've read it come back and told you, what they've liked or what worked or didn't work? Like couple of things. That would be nice to
Yeah,
know.
so my son Siddharth is just going to be 4, so he's
Yes.
too young to read this. But hopefully, when he's older, he can read it and be proud of me. Hopefully, but yeah, there are a lot of friends, children have read the book, and the response has been overwhelmingly wonderful. So I'm very
Lovely.
enthused and very encouraged by their response because, in fact, a lot of the parents are getting back to me and saying we enjoyed it too. And I think the message that I was trying to convey through the book is going across to the young readers,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
about
Yeah. It comes across.
not to
I mean, I think even the first
okay to,
time,
sorry.
yeah, no, I was just saying that the first time I read the script, I think the very first time I read it only, I was very sure that it just shouted out that, like, be gentle and be pastel, like I'm saying in terms of colors. I just
Right,
like
right.
knew it, that's how I have to, work on it and proceed on it. Go ahead
No,
with
but
what you were saying. Yeah.
no, I was saying the response has been wonderful. Like I'm very, very happy. It's better than I expected. Um, Not only friends, like I'm also on Instagram. I see people tag the book and they write things about it. Everything has been kind of very, very good reviews and very good response. So I am definitely encouraged. This was definitely a labor of love for me. There was
Lovely.
it wasn't a commission project at all. Something that came straight from the heart, and I'm glad it's going to the hearts of people.
Okay, so now you've already answered my question about a sequel. We're definitely sure and we're looking forward to one. I'm just wondering that what are the current projects that you're working on? And since you've already tried your hand at directing, writing, is there something else now that you're willing to try out or going to try
Uh,
out that you could tell us?
I don't know which direction I'm going to jump in. To be honest, I've done like acting, writing, and
Yes.
books, TV anchoring, directing. I've directed 2 films. So I don't know like where I've not really planned anything, but the sequel is definitely underway. A book 2 of The Coward and the Sword is. In fact, I'm already about 1/3 down my first draft.
Oh, wow.
This time, I know where to take the story. 6 months because once the characters reached Malonga, I didn't know what to do. So I said, now I need to figure out,
What
the
next?
second. But this time I have a rough idea of where I'm
Lovely.
headed. So that process is going again in the middle of other things. Whenever I find time, I do sit down to write it. So it's not a structured everyday thing, but that's going well, and I hope to have it at HarperCollins door in like maybe my middle of next year, and well, then I'll be chewing my nails, hoping they like it. Then it'll
I'm
be in
sure
your
they
hands,
will.
and then it'll be in your hands again. So I look forward to your thoughts on the second book as and when it comes.
Absolutely. I look forward to reading it and getting it as a script. I'd love to go through it. So great. I think that kind of covers everything that I've had to ask you. And yeah, it's been lovely speaking to you. It's been lovely meeting you in person. It's been great to be a part of the Literature Festival. And I'd like to just thank them once more from us.
No,
So,
thank you so much.
yeah.
The pleasure's all mine. And thank you, Ruchi, for inviting me here and the BLF as well. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Jugal. Thank you, Ruchi. It was a wonderful session. And thank you for